No, it's not a birdhouse. It's called a swarm trap. I'm not expecting any swarms, but if we were to have one, and if you keep bees, you never know when you're going to have one, this is hopefully where they end up. The bees tend to like them to be about 15 feet off the ground. However, they'll have to compromise. This one's about 8 feet off the ground. I don't feel like climbing that high. Let's take a closer look at exactly what's inside one of these swarm traps. It has a top cover, like a regular beehive, and inside are 5 frames. Each of these frames have foundation on them. If you have drawn comb around, that works better, but we don't have any drawn comb yet. The box with the foundation comes off of the base, which is just a hollow area below the comb. They like a hole that's round and about 1.5 inches in diameter, and that's what we give them. So hopefully they find that hole, and they climb in and notice that there's something useful in them. If they collect in there, the swarm trap converts to being a regular nucleus hive with a different bottom board. The top is returned, and there you have it. Generally speaking, swarm traps are baited with either lemongrass oil, which they really, really like, or if you want something very, very powerful, you can actually buy artificial versions of the pheromones that the queen would have, and put that in there as well. It's important to watch your bees to understand what is normal activity. This is normal activity. It's about 80 degrees out, and you can see the bees returning from the field, landing on the board and entering the hive as other bees go out to forage. Occasionally you'll see these yellow cakes stuck to the bees' legs when they're coming back in. That's pollen. They have little hairs on their legs, and they will pack the pollen onto those little hairs and form a cake. And they'll take it in the hive and put it up for storage. They don't all return with pollen. Some of them are just, fully interested in the nectar. But a few of them will come and go with the pollen, or I should say come with the pollen. They don't go with it unless they're swarming. But it's just important to get an idea of what normal activity looks like so you can spot abnormal activity. So, this is what's known as an observation hive. It basically contains one frame. And if you wanted, you could take a frame that has eggs and brood on it. And you don't want to accidentally bring the queen into the picture, but you would put that frame in here. As long as it had fresh eggs and brood of all ages, over the course of a month, they'd raise a new queen, which would make for some very, very interesting visuals. On either side, there's a removable panel. And inside, you have a piece of glass. So you'd actually be able to watch them do it. And if they decided to move to the other side of the frame, away from you, that panel removes as well. There's several vents on it, and one entrance. Some people put these in their window with a small pipe attached to the outside and keep bees for a while. You can't keep them too long, though. Once the queen hatches, she'll go out in a mating flight. And on that mating flight, she'll get fertilized by a few drones. Funny thing is, though, when they come back from the mating flight, they tend to come back with a lot more bees than they set out with. It's just a oddity to the nature of bees. Some of them, they're just around will follow the queen back home. So suddenly you'll have a very, very crowded observation hive. And once she starts laying eggs, you better plan on moving that frame into its own colony and starting something out. So as you might be able to figure out, this works out really good for raising queens and mating queens. It has a few other purposes too. If you have a troublesome hive and you really, really need to carefully inspect one of the frames, it can be very difficult when you're looking at a frame to see whether you're seeing the eggs. Depending on the amount of light that you have, it can be difficult. What you can do is you can take this observation hive back to the park, put a piece of tape over the entrance obviously, and take questionable frames out of the hive, put them in the observation hive, and just look at them very carefully without having to worry about your breath disturbing them or the wind disturbing them or bees leaping off. Take pictures or what have you. And at that point in time, when you're done with it, you take that frame out, you put it back in the hive, you put the next frame you might want to look at into it until you've ascertained whatever information you want to ascertain. So it's a very useful item. This one here actually was given to me by my father on my 16th birthday and got lost in the attic. 50 years later, I find it. And it is at a very, very opportune time since we're keeping bees again and since we have at least one hive that requires a little bit of careful inspection. As to whether we'll actually put a frame of brood in there and take pictures and film the development of the queen, I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned.